I'll start with my introduction, which some of you may have heard already, so I beg your forgiveness. This webinar is being held in the context of the International Coaching Week, which is a global sort of celebration of coaching, where coaches in the whole world offer free coaching and webinars and education about coaching because it's such a not well-known profession. I'm very happy today to welcome Katie Klein, who's the director of the HR director of International Road Transport Union. She is here to talk about coaching culture and how to introduce a coaching culture. That's what her talk will be about. She is also a member of the International Coaching Federation Switzerland, and the whole organizing group is from the Swiss chapter of ICF. And we're a group of coaches who have put this together, and we have many other offers, as you've probably seen on our website. So without further ado, I want to welcome Katie, a professional certified coach, an HR leader, a seasoned professional, and I just want to thank you, Katie, not only for accepting to do this webinar, but for hosting a live event in Geneva within our big conference, and that will be on Friday, 17th of May. Check out our website to see how to register. If you are in Geneva, please come and join us. And Katie, so please tell us a little bit more about yourself. And then after that, I will make myself scarce and leave you the floor.
Okay, so I'll share the screen as we speak right now to show my presentation and give you a little bit of insights about myself. So I'm so pleased to be here. I want to actually tell you a story that I'm really passionate about because it's a true example of how a creating culture can be made. I discovered coaching in 2014, and I also gained an ACC accreditation. I also decided to go a little bit more into depth and studied the master coach, which ended with the result of a dissertation. And the dissertation was a story about how coaching has a positive influence on the culture of an organization. And I remember when I finished, a couple of my colleagues said, oh, that would be a shame if you just stick that in your drawer and it just disappears forever. And a few people, including a gentle nudge from Saba, gave me the courage to share this webinar today. So I'm sharing a dissertation that I used for my master coach, where I worked with the leadership team here in my organization to promote coaching. And I'd like to tell you a story of how we got there. It will hopefully also give you some insights for you to be inspired by. And to shape the webinar, I'm using the GROW model. For those of you who are new to coaching, the GROW model was introduced by Sir John Whitmore in 1992. And the structure of this presentation is based on a tool that most coaches use and find very useful, and even employees can use it in discussions for themselves on a day-to-day basis, which I also included in the workshop later on. I will be answering questions later on around 1:45, 10 to 2, and let's start. So the GROW model, this is the GROW model. It is here. There are 4 aspects. There's the goal, what do we want to achieve? The reality, where are we now? The options, what options do we have? And will we do it? Will we actually take some action? And my aim with the presentation is threefold. It's for all HR professionals out there. Perhaps you're already starting to introduce coaching. Perhaps this will give you some other ideas, and I'm very happy to share more if you reach out to me. It's also for coaches to see how I've introduced coaching in the organization with the help and support of coaches, of course, both external and internal. And also for all of you who are new to coaching, because I will also introduce a couple of other models that you'll see that we used in practice, which you might find useful, including a visualization. So hang on there. So what is the goal of an organization when it comes to getting coaching culture going? What did we want to achieve? What would a successful outcome look like? We're at the first stage of the GROW model goal. And this is where I would like to suggest that we take some time to visualize and close our eyes of what the benefits of a coaching culture could bring to an organization. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do an accompanied visualization, and I'm going to start with a little bell, and I'm going to invite you to relax your shoulders a little bit, put your feet on the ground. Actually, I have taken my shoes off so that I really feel the ground beneath me. And I will accompany you in a visualization, which will take you to the benefits in 3 stages: the benefits for the culture of the organization, the benefits for the individual, and the benefits for leadership in general. So take a deep breath, and when you're ready, if you'd like to close your eyes, you're very welcome to. So imagine a place of work, imagine an organization where we fully embrace the coaching culture. That coaching is simply a way of being. Imagine that we all take the time to listen and understand instead of reacting immediately. Imagine that we take the time to validate understanding. We take the time to be open and to hear other people's opinions on issues and their perspective. And we take the time to discuss the best action going forward in a spirit of collaboration and accountability. And then for the individual person in the organization, each person understands themselves better and how their behavior impacts others. Each person understands their strengths and how to leverage them. Each person understands their areas of improvement, their blind spots to manage themselves better. Each person is self-aware and understands that how they feel is as important as what they think about. And each person can self-regulate their emotions and manage both the good and the challenging moments at their best. Stay in the moment. I'd like to move on to leadership. Take another deep breath as we move on in the visualization. Imagine a leadership which integrates the coaching posture as often as possible, where trust and respect are the constant ingredients. Leadership which is authentic and clear. Leadership which inspires everyone to be at their best and achieve the vision of the organization. Leadership which creates both resilience and positive energy. Leadership which creates bonds and determination to achieve our organizational objectives. And leadership which is caring, that encourages, that develops, and drives team to success. You may now open your eyes if they were closed. Was that a dream? Can it be possible? I will let you be the judge of that, but it is my vision and my inspiration. And I would like everyone at the end of this presentation to feel what can be achieved through a lot of different actions that I will share with you now. So some of you might be saying, you kidding me? Can coaching really achieve all that? So for some of the more cynical of you, and probably not you here because you're on the call, but maybe to convince the leadership team or the CEO or the Secretary General, it's important to know that there is one key KPI that increases productivity through improved teamwork, improved engagement, and improved relationships, which you can see on the screen, as well as faster leadership development. The productivity of people, organization engaged in coaching increases by 50%. So not a negligible salary. And this source comes from the International Coaching Federation studies that have been made along with Human Capital Institute. So that's a little bit about coaching, the importance of return on investment figures in order to convince our leadership teams that coaching is truly beneficial. But what is the definition of culture? Just so that we're all aligned, Culture is the way people behave and act. It's also how we interact formally and informally in a group of organizations, and a common set of shared beliefs, benefits, and assumptions. And so with my leadership team, we thought about this, and it was in 2019, 2020, and we were like, what is the culture in our organization? Where do we stand? And so this is where we get to the second part of the GROW model. In terms of coaching culture, where are we today? What have we already done? And what do we need to learn to move on? And these were the questions that we asked ourselves. And then we thought about, well, what type of corporate cultures exist today? And this was a very useful tool, which we got from a colleague of mine who was working here. We worked together as a team from the Harvard Business Review. Very important to be able to have people to support in the rollout of this with the leadership team. And you can see that there's a chart here with different types of culture points. On the vertical axis, you can see the flexibility at the top and the stability at the bottom. And on the horizontal axis, on the left-hand side is dependence, and on the right-hand side is interdependence, more to do with collaboration. So this is important to understand that there are all these different types of cultures. But how do we assess where we stand in the culture of an organization? And with the help of the Harvard Business Leaders sort of guidelines, what we did is created a questionnaire on all the characteristics here, which we sent out to a cross-section of employees. Questionnaires about the physical environment, the customs and norms, ceremonies and events that take place, rules and policies, how there is measurement and accountability, leadership behavior, rewards and recognition, training and development, communication, and the structure and culture efforts that are made for culture. And then using a scoring mechanism, we were able to position ourselves in the organization and work out where we were today. And this is where we were. You can see the blue circle around results. We were also a little bit involved with safety as well. So down on the bottom part of the box. And it's a typical result for many organizations who haven't yet introduced coaching. It's rather rigid, traditional, hierarchical style. It's about getting the job done, which is obviously important, but it's about processes. As you can see, there's little focus on employee well-being and engagement. And this is where we started thinking, what can we do? What is the desired culture we would like? And we wanted to move towards purpose and caring were our main axes, but of course, learning is important too. And we realized that with the help of coaching, we could probably move our culture towards purpose and caring and have a coaching culture. So what were the options we had to see what we could do in order to move our coaching forwards? We knew that we had to create a link between the sense of purpose of the organization, the culture transformation we wanted, and the leadership buy-in. But actually, at this stage, which is the third part of the GROW model, the options, the moment where you can open perspectives and change people's way of thinking, we were a bit stuck. And so I thought, I know, when I did this dissertation, I had this poem that was given to me that I found really inspiring. And sometimes in coaching, what we do is we do something that's a little bit unusual just to change perspective. It was a bit of a risk. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but I decided to introduce this poem to the leadership team. And I got all the leadership team to read one paragraph each in turn. And I'd like to share it with you now. And if you'd like to close your eyes, you may. And if you'd like to jot down at the end of the poem some of the feelings that might have evoked or some of the things that resonate with you, I will be quiet for a couple of minutes so you can drop down a few notes. This is a poem by an Irish man called John O'Donoghue, and it's called For the Leader. May you have the grace and wisdom to act kindly, learning to distinguish between what is personal and what is not. May you be hospitable to criticism, May you never put yourself at the center of things. May you not act from arrogance, but out of service. May you work on yourself, building and refining the ways of the mind. May you learn to cultivate the art of presence in order to engage with those who meet you. When someone fails or disappoints you, may the graciousness with which you engage be their stairway to renewal and refinement. May you treasure the gifts of the mind through reading and creative thinking, so that you continue as a servant of the frontier, where the new will draw its enrichment of the old, and you never become a functionary. May you know the wisdom of deep listening, the healing of wholesome words, the encouragement of the appreciative gaze, the decorum of held dignity, and the springtime edge of the bleak question. May you have a mind that loves frontiers so that you can evoke the bright fields that lie beyond the view of the regular eye. May you have good friends to mirror your blind spots. May leadership be for you a true adventure of growth. I can see a heart floating up the screen. And that means a lot to me, that it's having an impact for those of you who've taken this moment to think. So what happened then? We get back into the room. We've got a room full of people who are not necessarily sure about coaching, who've just read a poem. And I suggested to them, how about writing down some of the key words that you heard when that poem was recited? And so this is what came up. We got kindness, vulnerability, humility, presence, compassion, authenticity, learning, active listening, or active learning, I can see here, dignity, strategic vision, teamwork, and purpose, which is not a bad harvest from just one poem. So all of us in the room felt inspired, and we decided to consider the purpose of our organization, which we had worked on and which we knew. The purpose of the organization that I'm in, and I've been in since 2018, is connecting societies with safe, efficient, and green mobility and logistics. It's about transport, it's clear. Our vision supports cross-border transport and trade. Trade means jobs, it means helping with the economies. Prosperity means peace. So for our external stakeholders and our members in our organization, the connection to the vision is easy and inspiring. But what about the people in the organization who are maybe in a support function like IT or HR, like myself, or financial services? How do they connect with the vision of the organization and their contribution, which is something Saba talked about the importance of contribution and for people to feel that they are, reaching their best and self-actualization moments. So we went on to the second question, which you can see on the screen. In what way does our organizational culture ensure the connection between our employees and our purpose? So how does our purpose, which is easy to understand from an external point of view, how can it be connected to all our employees so that they understand their contribution and their impact? So we used a model, which is also another coaching model, which I came across in my master's studies. We met with Anne Clancy, who's one of the co-authors of this book, and we decided to use the approach of appreciative coaching. And what I love about appreciative coaching, which is very much part of the coaching process, is that we support a process by recognizing our strengths instead of just looking at problems and weaknesses, which never is very inspiring. So we went through the 4 stages of the appreciative coaching, and I'd like to share these 4 stages with you now. The first stage, with a very powerful question, is the best of the past. What are the strengths we wanted to keep? What are the strengths you want to keep? And what is working well already? So in this particular case, we sat down and we thought about what we did, and we knew we had two key components that would help us. One was that we had already done a lot of work on our IIU competencies and behaviors, what we should be behaving like, how it's perceived. All the employees had been involved in defining what the different behaviors would look like at different levels. You know, if you're starting, or if you're just joining the organization, or if you're demonstrating, you know, very much linked to our performance reviews, or if you're really outstanding, what does respect look like if you're really outstanding, for example? And we had very clear definitions with a lot of alignment around that. So we knew we had a good base to work on from our competencies and behaviors point of view. We also had been working on employee communication by making sure that we had a game plan that was published, an infography, if you would like, so that everyone understood what each department was doing and how they would be measured. And that was employee communication that hadn't existed before, that was already in place. And with those two elements in mind, we said, let's build on that, because we've got lots we can already be proud of doing. And I think that's important when you're building a coaching culture, is to acknowledge what's going well already. You don't have to start from scratch. The second part of the appreciative inquiry is called the dream, anticipating the future. We did a visualization at the beginning of this webinar, which was part of this idea of imagining what coaching culture would look like in the organization. And I remember sitting in a room and I had flip charts all over the place and Post-its everywhere. And I said to the team, what do we want more of? And what do we want less of? And I can give you a few examples. What we wanted more of, if I get to my little sheet here, is we wanted our employees to be proud of the organization and its purpose. We wanted a culture where the focus would be more on well-being after the exercise we'd done about culture. We wanted the team to look out for each other, to have each other's backs, and to have more caring in the organization. We wanted a culture where employees could thrive and grow. We also wanted a culture where people cared about corporate social responsibility. And we wanted emotional intelligence to be better understood and integrated. So that was more towards the visualization and how we could see things. And there were some things we definitely wanted less of. And here are a couple of examples, and I'm sure that will relate to you as well, possibly, where you are in your organization. We wanted less instructions for work to be done without giving context. Do this, do that, and no one understands what's going on. We wanted fewer moments of disrespectful behavior, particularly in times of stress, when people can sometimes forget how to behave and not necessarily have a good impact on each other. We wanted less inconsistent management approaches, with different managers behaving on different levels, some being more generous, some being harsher, and having a more harmonious approach to management style. And we wanted less silo mentality between the businesses we had and the regional offices, for example. And there were lots of other things we didn't want, but I won't list them all here, but it certainly gave us some clues as to what we might be wanting to work for. And the energy when everyone was in this room was just incredible. And this is one of the things that I really appreciate about coaching. When I have my own personal coaching sessions, I always, either as a coach or a coachee for that matter, I always come back energized, come out energized, feeling refreshed and having a new energy and a lease of life or creativity. So it was a very exciting stage to be at. The third stage is design. It's the present to the future. It's a little bit like the O from the GROW model. What are our options? Not always easy, which is why, if you remember, I recited that poem to try and get us out of the block that we were in. And here we did get stuck again. And so I decided, how about we do an exercise where we create a vision statement about what employee well-being means for everybody in the room. And that was already a way of starting to have the conversation, getting the wheels turning. And that's something I also appreciate about coaching. As soon as we engage in a conversation, things are happening. So here are a few extracts that I can read to you. My vision of well-being is where our employees can experience passion and fulfillment at work. My vision of well-being is where our employees can experience how useful their contribution is and experience a strong link between their work and IU's purpose. My vision of well-being is where our employees can experience both professional and personal growth. And my vision of well-being is where our employees can experience exchange and challenge full of positive energy. And as each leader read their own vision statement about well-being, you could hear a pin drop. It's what I would call a coaching moment or a leadership moment. It is important to express a vision, influence others to action, encourage team cooperation, and be an example, which is a quote from one of our coaching referrals that I would recommend, called Robert Dilts. We were definitely making progress. We were definitely thinking out of the box, and we were ready for the next stage. So, armed with our vision of well-being, how do we bring it all together? What needs to happen to get there? And so we needed to think about some concrete actions about what we could do based on what we had already done, but also on the other ideas that came to our minds. And this was interesting because we identified through the vision statements lots of options, as you can see listed here, to explore further to develop the coaching culture. Some of the themes had not even been addressed at any point. Some had just been discussed and were just starting. But you can see here a wealth of things very much linked to employee well-being, connecting employees to the purpose, mental health, employee recognition, celebrating successes instead of always going for the next thing, corporate social responsibility, giving and receiving feedback, which is a gift in itself, employee growth and learning, emotional intelligence, leadership growth, employee work-life balance, linked to also employee well-being, and also just the office space, the office environment. So, as I said, this was what sometimes we call in coaching an aha moment. This was a moment where you went, okay, so this is what we need to do. And sometimes in a one-on-one coaching, a coach will see the coachee suddenly go, I know. And that's where we were at. We knew kind of where we needed to go. So we wanted to make sure that we integrated employee well-being in everything we were doing to make a difference and transform the organization. And we asked ourselves another really powerful question. What did we want to make possible for the organization and for our employees? It's another question, bringing a different sort of outlook on the same theme and the same objective, the same goal. What we wanted was for our employees to have an enriched human experience so that they would feel valued and that they could be at their best. The idea then is that their performance would be enhanced, which would have an immediate positive impact on the organization. And then the organization culture flourishes. It seems like such a wonderful thing to do. It almost seems like a no-brainer, which is sometimes what happens in coaching. Things can be very simple, but actually there was quite a lot of work to be done. And we were really boosted. But then we have to, think about what actions we need to do. And this is what gets us to the final part of Sir John Whitmore's GROW model. What do we need to do? And what is our first step? So that was the next question. And what I'd like to do now is share with you 5 key actions we introduced in the organization. And this is what I love about coaching. And this is what I think our leaders appreciate about coaching as well, because we make things happen. Coaching starts with a goal. It gives us an opportunity to look at where we stand, to look at the options we have, to be creative, and then finally to make things happen and take some actions. And these are the actions we took amongst many, but the main ones I wanted to share with you to go towards creating a coaching culture. The first thing we did was we worked on this information I told you before about the fact that we had an infography with a game plan. But in order to be more intentional, we decided that it was important to share this notion of emotional intelligence, to link them with our values and the winning culture, or in other words, the coaching culture we wanted to achieve. And this was shared at the beginning of this year, and we had a plenary with the staff, and we presented the work that had come out of it, knowing that all the leaders had already been speaking with their teams about all the different aspects and taking their feedback so we could integrate it into one game plan. So emotional intelligence appeared on our game plan as a very intentional goal that we wanted to increase for all our employees and our leaders, because of the fact that it's both personal and professional growth that will benefit. So that was action number 1. Action number 2 was to link everything around coaching to our learning and development strategy. So the HR team and the learning and development team had a lot to do here. And first of all, we called it out straight away. Emotional intelligence is important. Sustainable leadership to support corporate social responsibility is important. And so is a coaching culture. But it's not just for leaders, it's for everybody. And so we have embarked on organizing a lot of internal workshops. Some of them had already been started. Some of them we added more information to on how to self-motivate, the power that we have ourselves of having a choice in what we want to do, giving and receiving feedback, not just giving feedback when people don't particularly want it, but maybe asking for permission. It's always quite a good start, but receiving feedback as well, asking for feedback in order to improve. We did workshops on how to manage that, on how to manage change. We also had a workshop on employee well-being and what it meant for each individual. We had a workshop on positive psychology, a very good one called "How Full Is Your Bucket," which was written by the person who invented the Gallup polls, which talks about positive psychology and has 5 strategies to make sure that we help each other fill each other's buckets in terms of energy and motivation, that we shine a light on the strengths, not on the negatives, that we make friends at work. We need to be connected. We need to be related, as Saba mentioned earlier on, that we give unexpectedly and be a bit creative and joyful, and that we reverse the golden rule. So we don't treat others as we wish to be treated, but we treat others as they wish to be treated. And that workshop I would be very happy to share with anyone, because it lasts an hour and a half and it really starts engaging thought and processes on all the things that we can do ourselves personally towards the coaching culture and being a better person. Obviously, we used behavioral assessments. Some of you may know insights or discs, so that each individual got to know themselves better, how they were perceived and how they're perceived by others, and then built on these with team workshops as well, so that all the teams could understand each other better. And more recently, we've added Strength Finder, which is another way of leveraging the strengths of people in the organization. Because one of the things I didn't realize that I'd share with you now is sometimes we don't even realize what our strengths are because they seem so easy to us. And I was like, oh yeah, that's an interesting concept and perhaps something we should share. So the workshops, the cross-functional participation of all the teams, the fact that everyone's hearing the same sort of language was very important in supporting the coaching culture. The third action was to be definitely more intentional on corporate social responsibility. So we created a team. We had 2 directors sponsor the team to drive corporate social responsibility based on 3 main pillars, which were well-being, community, and environment. And we also added half a day on our sort of absence management leave system for volunteering. So people, if they wanted to, could volunteer half a day in an organization in the community in Geneva. We had 2 people just recently spend some time in a refugee organization helping people to revamp their CVs and so forth. And another example was the Bike to Work campaign. So we got a group organized joining that campaign, and that's been quite fun too. And again, we're doing caring. We're not just caring for each other, but we're caring for others too. And it really connects people and makes everyone proud to be part of of the organization. The fourth action linked to leadership development, which was part of the learning development strategy, but is very important for the coaching culture, is to make sure that every single member of the leadership team had a coaching session, as in, 6 or 7, a proper coaching program, because that is one of the best ways of getting coaching culture going, because they understand suddenly the benefits, their eyes light up, and they're like, wow, this is the best thing that's ever happened. And so they become the champions. So that's a really good thing to do, and we were successful with that. We also organized an external pool of coaches, so that people could we could get to know them better, and we could organize chemistry fits as we develop coaching in the organization beyond our leaders, our senior leaders, but also our management teams and beyond. And people are actually saying, hey, can we be part of your coaching pool? Because it sounds like you're supporting coaching and it's a great place to be. So that was great. And we developed, and I think earlier on we were talking about, Kirsten was talking about that, internal coaching. So basically we have some internal coaches who are helping us as well, so that all employees can benefit from this. And we support internal coaching qualification as well, which is important and an investment. And very importantly, a foundations of coaching workshop, which introduces all the notions that Saba introduced earlier on about what coaching really is, the difference between being a mentor and a coach, the importance of open questions and that sort of thing, and even get them to practice the GROW model. Actually, to get the leadership team to really understand what coaching was about, I got them all to practice the GROW model. And they suddenly went, oh, wow, this is good. I could use this at home. So it was a really good way of getting people engaged. And the last piece is employee recognition and team building. And here you can see lots of different posters where we did celebrating 26 years of service for one employee, talking about the team in Moscow going off on an outing, lots of different things, cross-functional stories where people have worked together from different teams to go to different places. And they're posted all over the building, in the main copy areas, but also we have a website to support all this sort of more informal information, so that everyone can understand better what's going on. We also create moments together, and we have sometimes every two or 3 months a simple moment where we just grab a few slices of pizza and all sit around our sort of common room. And all of this, we also try and measure the feeling of, is the coaching culture working through engagement surveys, which I'll share with you later. So 5 actions with everybody being involved, the leadership team, the HR team, general services, all the people in the IOU winning culture team, helping to promote all these different things. Doing it on your own is impossible. So very, very excited about that. So what would I like the listeners to take away? The first thing is that culture transformation takes time. So you need to stay patient and gently gather the people around who are showing interest and creating champions. You really do need endorsement from the top, which I was fortunate to have. And you need to engage the leadership team, the HR team, and all the culture champions. What I think is exciting, though, is as soon as the conversations start, you get the feeling that the wheels are moving. And that is very, very empowering. You also need to remember the core competencies in coaching, which we can use for anything in the organization. Trust and safety, obviously, the presence, the manager spending time with an employee to listen or to have a coaching conversation, the gift of listening actively and perhaps being part of the feedback loop, evoking awareness, like, well, what would you do if this happened? And asking an open question, and being the banner of all our employees and our colleagues here. What else does it involve? It involves gentle persistence. Appreciative inquiry is based on a deceptively simple premise. Organizations grow in the direction of what they repeatedly ask questions about and focus their attentions on. We have a phrase here in the organization, what you focus on grows. And definitely we saw the coaching culture grow in our organization. You've seen different types of models. The coaching mindset can be integrated in a lot of HR business practices too, for HR professionals listening. The recruitment, the interviews, the exit interviews, performance review trainings, conflict management, all sorts of things. And there's so much more that can be done. Now, when I walk around the organization of which I belong, I walk along the corridors and I see different individuals, and it feels different. The atmosphere is lighter. The discussions and exchanges are richer and focused. It's kind of contagious. Even the ones who are a little bit more cynical are gently peeping out of the woodwork, and there are smiles. And these positive results you can see because we did an engagement survey where we had an 85 response rate, which is really good compared to what we used to have, which was between the 60s and the 70s. 73% average positive satisfaction level. They knew which were the values that were important for us here in the organization, which was to drive results, which is exactly what the coaching culture is, because don't forget goal, reality, options, and will you do it, and respect. And the key motivators, which when I look at those, I feel very inspired that we've managed to get this as a feedback, being part of a great team, meaningful work, the sense of connection, learning and development growth, and the work that's being done to encourage emotional intelligence and all different aspects of skills, including, of course, technical skills, a good manager, which goes a long way, and recognition for work to be done. So as I close, I take a step back and I think about when I joined in 2019 and I think where we are now. And I remember when I handed the dissertation to my Secretary General to say, by the way, would you like a quick read before I submit it? And he came back and said, did we do all this? And I was like, yeah, we did all this. So the vision was clear and we knew we needed to connect it to our employees. The leaders of the organization all work together with their teams. Every employee understands their value and their contribution that they're making. And as we anticipate the future, we go closer and closer to this coaching culture, and we did it together. And last year, we organized a celebration to celebrate 75 years of our organization, which was attended by the employees here in Geneva. And we took a picture. And here's the picture which speaks 1,000 words. It was a team effort, and our Secretary General was there to support us, our senior manager, strategy and development, the HR team, the general services team, and everybody you can see is smiling. And so to conclude, I just would like to just say a couple of words on what exactly is it that coaching brings to the culture transformation. So the first thing is it brings vision. It creates a vision and it focuses on our strengths. It creates engagement so that all the employees are together and working together, a team behind us and together, and contribute proactively to the vision. Emotional intelligence, we've talked a lot about, more self-awareness, more understanding of how we're perceived by others, and how maybe when we get a little bit more involved, how our head, our heart, and our feelings and our guts work together, which I'll leave for another session. Learning how to grow and challenge ourselves, and that it's not just the organization that needs to decide, but it needs to be driven by ourselves as well. Creativity and innovation, not only for how we are as people, but how we approach the business and the challenges we face. Positivity. And here are my contact details. If ever you want to reach out to me, I'd be very happy to discuss how this coaching culture is working. And of course, we're still doing more. It's never enough. We need to continue. But it's something that I really do believe all organizations should replicate from the organization view, the employees and the individual point of view. And for all of you listening, I hope that you've managed to get something out of this presentation. I'm very proud of what we've achieved. Thank you so much for listening. And if you're available for any questions, I'm here for you. lots of nice messages. Thank you. So I think Saba is going to come back into the call, or maybe there are some questions in the chat.
Oh my goodness, Katie, that was a real adventure. Your presentation took us through an incredible journey. And while our viewers maybe pop some questions in the chat, you can put them in the chat or in the Q&A as you prefer. I think it's really worthwhile asking Katie to develop certain aspects of this incredible voyage that she created in her organization. And I must say, she didn't do it only once. She's done this before. It's not a first timer. That's why you can see how comprehensive her intervention and how detailed and careful it has been. So, Katie, what I'd like to say to you while we wait for any questions to come up in the chat is, you are the dream HR director that everybody would like to have. Really, and you can see in the comments, wow, Katie, this is amazing and inspiring. Can we clone you as HR director? Your organization is lucky. They sure are. And so thank you for that. First of all, just giving you, heartfelt kudos. And there's a lot of this very human qualities that you're talking about. You're talking about values. You're talking about recognizing people's efforts, etc. And in the cynical working world nowadays, I find it extraordinary how you were able to open up this kind of conversation in such a graceful and elegant way among a group of people who are largely very, concrete and business oriented. How did that happen? What is the magic that you expressed or developed or to be able to bring this out, these human qualities and these human conversations?
Yes, a lot of work was done with the leadership team, way beyond the sort of the goal of the coaching culture. Really, the idea was already, if you do, for example, some sort of behavioral assessment, and you acknowledge that that is how you are and that is how you behave, and then you have more discussions about what the values are and what is important to you, with simple exercises like bring something that you really like and share it with others, and why is it important to you. People start sharing more of their own sort of personal preferences and values to the table, and from there the conversation starts, and there's less bashfulness and less shyness about sharing the emotions. And from that, then you can start saying, so what would we like for the organization? So there was a lot of work done quite when I first joined, just to say, well, first of all, not to say anything, just to watch and see. And then once I assessed a little bit, to see the people who were the people who were open to this type of conversation, to start doing a few little workshops, but then working with the leadership team, and in which I had found a couple of supporters to then engage with external coaches to also help and facilitate discussions around this, not with me always being the one instigating the discussion.
Okay, right. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. It's also interesting, that you're not only the director of HR, but you're also a highly qualified and experienced coach. So you bring, these two worlds together, and they converge within you, and that enables you also to have insight both on the leadership, HR, and coaching perspective. You have integrated so well different models by scholars and practitioners of coaching, and put them to use in your organization. But I know that you also have your own, signature Katie Klein approaches to coaching. Do you want to share something about maybe what other personal approaches you use in the way you coach or the way you lead conversations?
I think the most important thing is the connection with the person you have in front of you, or the people you have in front of you, and creating trust. So you need to be credible, and you need to, although I do like humor and creativity, the most important thing is to establish this trust. And through that, it's by having open and honest conversations about what the framework is when we are in a coaching conversation, when we're not in a coaching conversation, what the framework is, and to make sure that that's truly respected, especially confidentiality.
Confidentiality is.
And that is critical, which is also a critical part of a coaching agreement. So that for me, the word that's bringing to mind is integrity. It's really important to have integrity in everything we do. And if after that we can make it fun and engaging, then that's great.
Mm. Thank you, Katie. Thank you. And we have an interesting question from the audience here. Emily Boyle asks you, how much do you have to tailor coaching culture to an organization? How do you navigate different spaces? That's such a good question, and especially to you who have done this kind of exercise more than once. What are your tips in this area?
Well, I think for coaching culture to work, you need to tackle it from lots of different angles, lots of different levels. You can't just go with one and hope that will work and wait for something to happen. Obviously, the leadership endorsement is important, but it wasn't there straight away, I would say, from a coaching point of view, but it was there from a learning and development point of view. So the workshop I talked about, How Full is Your Bucket, was a really good workshop that's been tailor-made and easy to deliver, that engages in conversations always to do about caring and well-being. So navigating when you're successful, you move in, a bit like, you know, uh, I won't say what it's bringing me up to, but when you move in and you're successful, and if it's not, you go back, you back off, and you try a different angle. There's no point being bullish about it, because that's not what coaching is about either. Coaching is about taking the time for people to come to their own realization towards things. So that would be my first aim, and my second aim is second aspect would be to to engage with the people who are going to be supporters of coaching culture, and have them help you get the message across of the benefits or support or attending a workshop or that sort of thing.
Mhm. Okay. And there's another interesting question. How many coaches are there in your organization? Question, there's multiple questions here. How many coaches are there in your organizations? How do you handle cynics? In today's world, it's hard to encourage many to take the time to slow down and really ask the important questions. I have two questions there.
So the organization is quite small here, but our external pool for 120 people, we have an external pool of about 20 coaches, and obviously there's a budget around that from a from a learning and development budget perspective, and internally we have 2 internal coaches at the moment, and hopefully we'll have more. That's something that we're working on, but otherwise already just doing the workshops on foundations of coaching is very helpful for a coaching culture, because a lot of people also are inspired by that and then have their own private coaching that they decide to do on their own as well, in
Mhm.
terms of self-confidence or presentation skills or whatever they fancy. For the cynics, I respect the cynicism, and I just leave it to one side. Usually, what happens, because there's momentum, is that the cynics do start gradually coming on board. Sometimes they don't. C'est la vie, that happens, but mostly they do.
Thank you. You, as the good coach that you are, you don't tell them to join. You just let it come. So that's really great. There's another notion also. I was wondering, how long did this process take to reach the stage of where you have that wonderful photograph with everybody?
Yeah.
But you started small, as you said. How long has this growth taken? How long has it taken?
I joined the organization in 2018. So there was a gradual building of trust, which took quite a long time. That doesn't happen overnight. And then once that was in place with the HR team and leadership team, everything went a bit faster. So I would say from 2019, the COVID times till now, that's when things really started to get going, and COVID was a true test of a coaching culture, because the well-being was already coming in straight away into play.
Yeah, so it takes time, and it's sort of kind of exponential. At the beginning, it's slow, but once more and more people start adopting it and talking about it, it sort of grows more quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Patience is key.
Patience is key. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look, I really want to congratulate you and to thank you for this excellent presentation. It will be, we'll post it on the webinar replays as soon as we can, probably after the 3 days of webinars that we have. Yours is a very nice conclusion to the lunchtime or midday session. We will see Katie again at the in-session, on-site event on Friday, 17th of May. If you're in Geneva, please come. Her organization, the International Road Transport Union, has hosted us for a midday session in their offices in Geneva. Check out our website to see how to register.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening. It was great to share, and I'm very happy to have an exchange on any of the topics that might have caught your attention.
Okay, thank you. My name is Saba Imre-Mathieu. I'm an executive leadership coach. I'm the lead on this project that the International Coach Federation Switzerland is sort of sponsoring it, and we're under that chapter. And you can find me on LinkedIn or just Google me, but especially please make a comment on this event if it inspires you, as I see it has in the chat and in other comments that we've received. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Katie. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Saba.